Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that.
Now, Terrell, run the road again!
Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay?
Their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear.
It's Division One football! Here, murals!
Lovely intro, of course. And today, we are back with another episode of the Hoppy Huddle. I'm Jake, that's Ed, and we are doing Big 12 preview, the most fun conference in America.
Absolutely. And if you want to see competitive games, this is the conference to watch. Forget the SEC, forget the Big 12, Big 10. This is the one every week. You don't know who's going to win this game. It matters if you're on the home or road. This is a fun conference to watch if you're just a football fan.
It's going to be fantastic. Cannot wait. So many good teams, so many competitive. The difference between in the rankings that one team and another team is extremely small. It's a very deep conference. Even the bottom of the league is got, I'd say, a higher floor than some of these other leagues like the ACC and the Big Ten. So it's definitely going to be quite a year. Even more expanded again, adding the four corner schools. And yeah,
I think you definitely hit it right, Jake. It's got a lower floor. I mean, it's a lower floor, but I think it's also a lower ceiling too.
Yeah.
I don't think where we had some of these leagues where it was really top heavy, and you had a lot of teams at the bottom. Here, I think you've got a lot of teams in the middle, and I do think, and we'll again going to have another playoff preview before the season starts. I think this is a one bid league, kind of like when you hear March Madness. This is a one bid league. I think the winner of this league gets into the playoffs, and I think there's going to be a lot of the other teams going to be looking out. Where I think the other leagues, you're going to have the conference champion and other teams get into the playoffs. I think the winner here's it, and it's going to be a fight to win that conference championship, which means it makes these games all matter. And we're going to talk about some games on the back end of that schedule, especially the last weekend of the regular season.
Oh man,
there's going to be some excitement with a couple of those games. They're going to depend on who makes into that championship game. So we're going to have some fun talking about this conference.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a scenario where the Big 12 could get two teams in, but it's not super likely in the way that it would probably going to shake down.
Yeah, it would take a lot of there's always a scenario, but I just don't think it's very likely.
I agree. All right, so do you want to just go ahead and jump into it with the favorite to win the league and the two-time Pac-12 champion, Utah Utes? And boy, Utah, this is quite a transition that they're having, jumping from the Pac-12, where you have to face teams like Oregon and USC, to the Big 12, where now you don't have those killer teams at the top, but you also don't have teams like Stanford and Cal, where they're kind of like automatics. So it's going to be not a easy schedule for them, but no, they don't have to play giant killer. They are the giant.
Yeah. I mean, this season all hinges on Cam Rising. Can he stay healthy? And I don't understate that. That's a big if, because he's proven to be injury prone. I mean, it's just so, if he's healthy, they are the favorite, but it remains to be seen. This team defensively is going to be good. I think it's always the strength of this team. I just don't know offensively, are they going to be able to win some games in this conference, where sometimes you do have to outscore your opponents at times in a few games here or there.
Yeah.
I think, we talked just a minute ago about the schedule. There's the Utah schedule isn't favorable. They do have to go on the road to play at Oklahoma State early.
That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. And Oklahoma State is going to be one of the teams to watch for. They have to go to Colorado, and I know, it's they're not the favorites, but don't get me wrong. I mean, you don't think Dion will have that group ready to go, especially if Utah is ranked? I mean, they would love
it's
nothing.
in November.
They would love nothing better than to knock Utah out and cause problems.
I'm sure they would love it, but
yeah. and they still have to play Iowa State. They have to play Arizona. I mean, they have a tougher schedule, and then they've got that matchup at the end of the season at Central Florida. That's a long plane flight. To me, that's a trap game going to warmer weather into the season.
The bounce house is also no joke.
Yeah.
Like-
And it's gonna be a tough game for them. That game to me could be one of the games that decides which one of those teams gets into the conference title game.
Absolutely. Like you said, Kyle Whittingham's defenses are always elite. They bring back essentially every snap along the front seven, and their defensive line will be good. Their secondary is a little more questionable, but with that defensive front, you can essentially you can drop in the extra man into coverage with who you have up front.
Yeah.
Against Big 12 offensive lines. Anyway, Cam Rising, 7th-year quarterback, still around. He's got to stay healthy, like you said. Other than that, Kyle Whittingham teams tend to get better as the season goes on. So I think it may be tough that they have that Oklahoma State game early. Certainly, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's certainly something to watch.
Yeah, I think so. They are clearly favorite. We'll say this, they are not my favorite to win this conference.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting. Yeah, so I actually think it's going to be Utah. I think Utah will win, barring injury. Like I said, barring injury from Cam Rising, I do think it's probably Utah. I just think they're too talented all around. I think they're too well coached. They are a hard, disciplined team. They were able to win 2 Pac-12 championships against the big boys. Now the big boys are gone, and they can essentially take over that spot at the top of the Big 12. And I don't really see there are, I think, 2 teams, maybe 3, that can really stop them.
Yeah.
Barring early season slip up Kyle Whittingham style. I see definitely, I know their over-under was like 9.5, I think. I definitely see them going over, and 11-1 is definitely on the table as well. Even with the tough road games, like I said, the games that are at home, Utah's got an amazing home field advantage. Even with the tough road games, I see them going 10-2, maybe even 11-1.
I think they're going to hit the under at 9-3. I think they're not going to be used to playing this many challenging teams every week. I think they got lucky. I think they played some good teams in the Pac-12, obviously, but then they had, I think, some more off weeks. There just aren't as many off weeks in the Big 12. And, in my opinion, they're not my favorite. I've got other teams that I think are ready to.
Interesting.
Now they might make the. I've got a double mess at the top. I think
the whole conference is a jumbled mess.
I mean, they could be in a 5 or 6-way tie up at the top. So, so they could make the championship game. They're not my favorite, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were in that championship game in this early December.
Yeah. All right. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I'm going to go to my team that I think will win the championship, and that is the Kansas State Jayhawks. Not Kansas State Jayhawks. Oh my God.
Okay.
Hold on. Said it backwards. The Kansas State Wildcats.
Okay. I was about to say, like, big Jalen Daniels guy over here. But all right.
No. I think, this is, Chris Kleiman has done a great job with this program. He has made them a tough-nosed football team. They can put together, they can run the ball. I like Dylan Edwards coming over from Colorado. They're going to be great, an elite running team. Avery Johnson is electric. The only question I think the world is waiting to see is how well is Avery Johnson going to be able to throw the ball? That's the issue on the offense.
That is the question.
But I think they've got everything lined up for them as far as returning production on defense. The schedule, I believe, is very favorable because they have Oklahoma State coming to them. They do have to go to West Virginia, which is always a tough place to play. And
they'll play Utah.
And they've got another year-end game at Iowa State, which is another game that I think could be in for the mix for who goes to the championship game. But their schedule is one of the more, out of all the leaders, I think their schedule is one of the most favorable. So
it is.
I don't know what do you think of Kansas State?
So I think Kansas State, they are, like you said, they're a tough, physical, scrappy team. Big question, I agree with you. Big question is, can Avery Johnson throw? I think their running game is always Chris Kleiman is to be a good offensive mind, and they usually have a tough running game, good lines of scrimmage. My thoughts are they are good, but I'm just not willing to put my faith in a team to win the conference whose quarterback hasn't shown the ability to throw the ball. And I know he's very talented, and he may be able to, but it's different when you get in those live snaps and you have to make those quick throwing decisions. I think they may run into like when it's 3rd and 9 and you need Avery Johnson to really bail you out. Can he? And the question mark there is what gives me some pause. But I do think they're definitely a conference contender for sure.
Well, let's play devil's advocate for a second. This team was willing to get rid of Will Howard and send him to packing in order to give Avery Johnson a job. This is Will Howard who's starting for Ohio State. I mean,
yes, yeah, but
like I don't know something we don't.
Yeah, but it's different in practice versus in game. We see this all the time. You bring in an insanely talented, quarterback who's great, and he wins the job in practice. And 2 weeks into the season, it's clear that he doesn't have what it takes, and he gets swapped. Coaches make the wrong decision with quarterbacks all the time, even with all the information. This happens even at the NFL level. Do they start the wrong quarterback?
Yeah.
And especially in college, how many times you see colleges swap quarterbacks in the middle of the season, and then like that, it's instantly better, and you're like, how did they think it was the other way? So, yes, probably he's good, especially because they let Will Howard go, but it's not a guarantee.
Well, the other thing that I think is interesting is that he is going to get a ramp to ease into this schedule. I mean,
that is true. That is true.
They only face one of the real top 5 favorites in this conference, and they get 5 of the bottom 6. The road splits. I mean, again, they go through a tough stretch there in October at Colorado and at West Virginia, which I know are not the favorites, but those are just going to be some tough places to play. Other than that, it's really, Arizona State at home, Cincinnati at home. This is not a difficult schedule.
Yeah. Arizona is decent with Noah Fafita and the wide receiver, but yeah, you get, like I said, you get Arizona State, you get Cincinnati, you get Houston, West Virginia, Colorado, BYU. Like, these are not some of the harder teams in the league. So, their win total's 9.5, just like Utah. And I think they will win enough games to be in that championship game, is my prediction. They might do that. I think it's going to come down to the Oklahoma State game, and it's going to be them and Oklahoma State. And I have Oklahoma State winning that game over Kansas State.
Yeah.
So.
And why don't we talk about Oklahoma State? That's the other team that I think is right along with one of the favorites in this conference. So, what do you think of Oklahoma State?
My thoughts on Oklahoma State is Ollie Gordon may be one of the best players in the country, if not the best player, but he's on Oklahoma State, so he's not going to win the Heisman. He is that good at running back.
Well, why do you say that?
He is. Have you seen him?
No. Why do you say he won't win the Heisman?
Come on. Running backs don't win the Heisman unless they play at Alabama. Let's be real.
I remember a running back who won the Heisman. His name was Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, okay. That was the 80s when you didn't have TV and the SEC didn't make, $50 million per team per year on TV contract money. This is not, I see the world how it is, not how I want it to be. Okay? Do I think that he should win the Heisman if he is the best player? Yes. Do I think it will happen? No. Okay? We live in a world that has rules. And the rules are you don't win the Heisman as running back unless you play at Alabama. Christian McCaffrey should have won it. He didn't. All right? Because he played at Stanford.
All right.
Or Ohio State. Or Ohio State, maybe. Maybe Ohio State, too.
Maybe Ohio State, yeah. Okay.
But essentially, my take is that Ollie Gordon is insane. And, who has the defensive line to stop him in the conference? Maybe Utah. And you're like, but Alec Bowman, can he really throw? Not that much. Does he have to?
Well, he had 3,400 yards last year passing and 30, and
Yeah, but he's not a barn burner at quarterback.
By the way, did you see his post yesterday or 2 days ago? It was either on Instagram or Twitter. X. He posted. He took his picture and he hung up a picture. It said 8th year of school.
18th grade. Yeah,
yeah, 19th grade. Yeah,
that was hilarious. Awesome. Him and Cam Rising should form a club.
Yeah. Cam Rising. I agree. Alabama.
He's a okay
He's a jack.
college quarterback. He's Jack. He's just a guy.
Just a guy.
But just a guy plus Ollie Gordon and a spicy defense. Their defense is not awful. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not great. But if you have an okay defense and an all-American running back,
Yeah.
that might win you the conference. Like, it could happen. Oklahoma State's been right on the fringe the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think this is the year they break through.
Well, we're going to see this real quick. We'll know in September what's going to happen here because they play Utah at home, and that's where they want to get Utah. And then they go on the road to Kansas State, which we talked about a few minutes ago. If they split those games, or heaven forbid they go 2-0, then you can go ahead. You go ahead and put them in the conference championship game.
Yeah.
The rest
we're going to know about them early.
The rest of the schedule are cupcakes. I'm sorry, but nothing breaks their way that they're really going to lose. I mean, they might slip up again, but
again, barring an injury from Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, because you could do a lot there. So I mean, their over win total was 8.5, which I think is probably.
The Arkansas game is tricky though. That is, I'd say, a trap game.
Which one?
Arkansas week 2. Arkansas at home week 2.
Yeah, I mean, really? I mean, you don't think they can beat Arkansas at home?
They can. I'm saying it's a trap game.
Arkansas is not very good.
I know, but like,
I mean, yeah.
All right, whatever.
I mean, Oklahoma State's better than Arkansas. Arkansas's over/under is what, 4.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think Oklahoma State again. This is a fun conference. There's a lot of teams that here could go either way at the top.
Yeah.
This is again one of those that you just depends on how a couple games go. Boom, you could be in the championship game. So.
Yeah. Okay, where do you want to? Do you want to talk about the Gus bust?
Yes,
UCF, the Golden Knight, and Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn's back in his element. He doesn't have to worry about crazy boosters. He doesn't have to worry about all the nonsense at being the Auburn head coach is, which is just about as stable as being the dictator of a Middle Eastern country. Gus Malzahn took it. He has got himself a running quarterback. He has got himself a big, fat, muscular running back. He's got himself a good offensive line, and they're gonna run all over. They're gonna run wild all over everybody. They are a fun team. If you like hard-nosed, run the ball, and also wacky plays, you're gonna love UCF because he also fits the vibe of UCF perfectly. He's like his wacky trick plays and his shenanigans goes very well with a team that claims fake national championships and is in Orlando. So I love UCF. I'm going to probably tune in to watch them every single week. I think they have a chance to compete for the conference title for sure. Like I said, I think the conference title was going to be Utah and Oklahoma State, but UCF could also swap in there. I think these 4 are really your surefire conference contenders. Not to say some other teams couldn't jump up there with a good season and some good coaching lucky season, but I think these 4 are kind of the top tier.
Yeah, I mean, I love KJ Jefferson is perfect for this offense.
Oh, he's awesome.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. He was just dying last year in Arkansas's offense. It just wasn't built for him.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 250. He's a dual threat. I think Gus Malzahn is licking his chops waiting to play this guy against these teams. I like R.J. Harvey, the running back. I think he's a good mix in this offense, and I think the defense, they brought in a lot of transfers, and I think it's going to be a good mixture here. I think this is another team that the schedule is pretty favorable for them. The big challenge for them, they go to Iowa State in mid-October, but other than that, they could get on a roll here, and you could be looking at the end of November at West Virginia. And, West Virginia is not in that elite category, but anytime you go to Morgantown, they can get they can bite you. So I take that team seriously. Even if they're not a 9-win team, they can beat you. And then they'll ask against Utah. And man, you don't want to tell me that if they got a chance to get that conference championship game with Utah coming to town, you don't want to be there. I mean, Gus is there. They're going to be ready for that. So I like UCF. I think they've got some momentum going in this program. This is a program that was ready to go to the power, and they're taking advantage of it. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here with this team this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the matchup at Florida is super interesting and will make for a great game because it's two programs with two opposite trajectories. UCF is ascending. They've joined the Power Five. They've got their man at coach. They're bringing in players from the transfer portal. And Florida, I mean, by that point in the season, may be struggling. Like, there's definitely been some jokes like, does UCF end Billy Napier's tenure at Florida if they win that game? And that'll definitely be an interesting matchup in the Swamp for sure. Yeah. So I think UCF, they signed their all-time best recruiting class last year. I think it was 41st or so. I think it was 41st in the country all time. And so the sky's the limit for the Golden Knights, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. So, but again, they're one or two games either way from being a contender or being a pre. I mean, you just could go either way on the schedule.
I agree. Where do you want to go to next?
Let's go to the surprise team last year in the Pac-12, Arizona. The Arizona Wildcats, our second Wildcats of the night. This is a team that I think prior to, Jed Fish leaving, I think most people would have put them up there as a contender along with Utah coming into the Pac-12, Big 12 as one of the favorites. Jed Fish leaves, goes and takes the Washington job. Some players leave. They get some transfers go out because of that. And while I think the team's good, and certainly with Fafita and T-Mac, you've got some building blocks there, and they should be pretty productive on offense. It'll be interesting to see, what the impact is, I guess, particularly on defense. I'm more concerned about. I think their best corner, Rysock, who followed Fish up to Washington. So I don't know. I don't know what to make. I think this is another team. I keep saying this is another team that could, with the right, if things break the right way, they could be competing for that conference championship. You've got to look at schedules a little bit more challenging, I think. They go to Kansas State, to Utah, to UCF, so you got three.
Tough.
It's a tougher schedule.
Yeah. So I love. It's hard to beat a good quarterback and a good wide receiver, and Arizona has both of those. Noah Fafita and McMillan are both fantastic. It would not. Noah Fafita is a little small. If Noah Fafita was taller, he'd be a surefire NFL prospect. But that height, it may hold him back. But who knows? Yeah, and their wide receiver, he's awesome. I agree with you on defense. They hired former Arizona coach Dwayne Akina on defense. And their defense is not insanely talented, but I feel like if they can get it to a decent level, they could definitely upset some teams. Small chance if Fafita and McMillan are just outstanding, they could compete for a trip to the title game. But they're definitely a tough team to watch out for. And like I said, there's a lot of these coin flip games could go either way, and Arizona's definitely a team that could win them.
See, and that's my concern with this conference is that you've got so many of these teams that can beat each other, and they're going to beat each other up, and we're going to end up with a bunch of 9-3, 8-4 teams.
Seriously.
And that's why I think there's only going to be one team that's going to make the playoff. It's going to be the champion because they're all going to beat each other. Utah's going to beat Kansas State, and then Kansas State's going to beat Arizona, and then UCF's going to beat Utah. I mean, I think it's just going to go back and forth. Fun football.
That is a possibility.
Terrible to bet and terrible for the conference to get more than one team.
Yeah, do not bet this conference at all for win totals. I would not. I would stay far away from it.
Yes. And of course, only bet if you have money to bet. This is for professional game. But
unless it's a lot.
Yeah. Don't parlay anything in this conference.
Unless it's a lot.
Unless it's a lot. Yeah.
That's the rule you go for everything. Big. You got to be careful with betting unless it's a lot.
Yeah. And I still think there are two more teams that can compete for the conference title.
Yeah. I think there are. I think there are. Well. Nah, just one.
No,
I think
two more.
Nah. Okay. Well, let's go to the next one. Who do you have at the next one?
You don't think Iowa State can compete for this time?
No, I think Iowa State can. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So Iowa State with a quarterback who's got to be in the Hall of Fame for coolest white boy names, Rocco Becht. That is an awesome name. You cannot top that. That that is the Transformer who has the headband type name. Like, that's such a cool name. But yeah, Iowa State, Matt Campbell, kind of a down year last year, but that's when Matt Campbell does his best work. When they have high preseason expectations, they've historically underperformed. When they did worse the previous year, that's when they tend to overperform. And, they had good at the end of the year last year. I think they continue that into this year. They bring back, along the defense, I think 81% returning production, which is pretty good. Their defense was pretty good against the pass last year. I think top 25 against the pass. And I think they'll be solid again this year.
Yeah, you look back to the team started slow last year. They played Texas tough late in the year. But they did have some wins. They beat Kansas State late in the year. I think this team returns. I think they returned 20 starters from last year's team. So I think this is a team that's that took their hits last year, but I think this year, could be one of those teams that makes a big jump with a lot of these returning veterans. Year one, which, I look at the home road splits. Obviously, they play Iowa the second week of the season. That's a rivalry game. It's not going to count the Big 12 standings. So, yes, that may be a loss, but that's not going to really impact everything. The rest of their home road games at Kansas and at Utah at the end of the season are pretty tough. And they go at West Virginia. So the schedule.
Well, at Kansas that's going to be in Kansas City, right?
Is that?
Yeah, Kansas doesn't have their stadium this year.
Oh, that's right.
So at Kansas, I would say,
is it okay?
That's not going to be that as much of a home. I would eliminate Kansas's home field advantage this year because they'll be playing in the Giant in the Chiefs Stadium, and that's easy to fly in for. And so I think Iowa State people can definitely drive to that, and plus it's a bigger stadium, so I would not give them much home field advantage.
Is that okay? I think I read that somewhere, but
I think all season Kansas doesn't have their all season. Yeah, I think it is the whole, or maybe the second half of the year. They're not. It may only be the second half, but I think it's the whole year.
Okay.
Or they might have half the stadium closed for the first half, and then something like that.
Well, Iowa State, it's getting one of those teams where I think their schedule's a little tougher than some of the other teams we talked about. But if they can improve production a little bit, especially running the ball maybe, then you could see them maybe sneaking in to that championship game.
Yeah, especially if they get some tiebreakers, that could definitely happen.
And don't even ask me to predict who the tiebreakers going to be this for.
Yeah. Hell, who knows? Who knows about the tiebreakers?
Yes. I've got one more team that I think is in there.
Who's your one more team? Because I don't know about the.
We just talked about a minute ago.
Kansas?
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby.
Yeah, I'm a little more down on Kansas this year.
Have you looked at their schedule?
Yeah. Yes. But I don't think they're that much better than all those teams they play.
Well, okay. You go look at their schedule and tell me where the losses are.
Okay, I'll go down their schedule. At West Virginia, that's tough.
That could be a loss. It's not a definite loss.
That could be a loss. At Kansas State is a loss.
Let's assume that's a loss.
Iowa State,
maybe.
At BYU is tough.
BYU.
They fill that 60,000 seat. They got the biggest stadium in the Big 12, and they fill that bad boy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's.
That is a trap game for anybody who goes out there. That is a tough game.
BYU is not very good this year. Okay.
Colorado might beat them. Their defense is not that good.
What is BYU has got the worst odds to win this conference.
No. Colorado might beat Kansas.
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I think Colorado.
And then at Baylor last week of the season, I don't know. Maybe not at Baylor, but
I'm with you. BYU's win total is 4.5. Don't give me anything on BYU. Take that BYU junk and trash it. Okay? That is garbage. Now, Colorado, I will tell you, Colorado is going to beat, all these teams we talk at the top, Colorado is going to come up and bite one. I'm telling you right now.
One of them, you think?
They're going to get somebody somewhere along the way, and they're going to mess up this whole thing we're talking.
Do you believe?
I do believe. I believe. So you're right. Could they lose to Colorado? But I don't consider the BYU. But I'm telling you, Kansas's schedule is cupcake worthy.
At Illinois.
It's not a conference game. It doesn't matter the standing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. But when I think of conference record, they could be at the top only because they've got one of the weakest schedules. And I'm talking about who's going to win the Big 12.
All right. I'm just saying their whole team is essentially Jalen Daniels, and if he doesn't play lights out every week, like, they don't have a lot else going for him. Didn't they also lose their offensive coordinator as well?
Well, he went to Penn State.
Yeah, so is the new guy going to keep up that fantastic play calling?
Well, I don't know, and you're right. You point out the two reasons: loss of the coordinator, Jalen Daniels, and then they've got to rebuild the front seven. Those are the real big issues here. But let me tell you what. I mean, Jalen Daniels can stay healthy.
Can he?
Well,
yeah.
If he does, they're electric with him in there. He makes things happen, and that's why I give him a shot to be in that upper tier.
Okay. Yeah, see, I just think they're closer to the second tier than they are to the top tier.
You think they're closer with the West Virginias, the Colorados, the TCUs, and Texas Techs?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think they can get to that top tier there, which makes them really fascinating to watch. So we'll see.
Okay. We will see. Where do you want to go to next? Do you want to go
questions
to
in the chat, or is nobody watching us tonight?
We got one.
Okay. Hi, one viewer. We had at least some viewers watch. Nobody. ACC, man. It's not a dying conference. We had people viewing that one.
Yeah, exactly. Our numbers are huge. No, let nobody tell you ACC doesn't have fans. We had huge ACC numbers.
Exactly.
So, you want to talk about West Virginia?
Yeah, let's talk about West Virginia.
All right. Neil Brown, back from the dead. Neil Brown. Surprising year last year. Everybody counted them out, and they got, 9 wins, right?
Yeah. Was it 9?
9 with the bowl game.
9 with the bowl. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. 9 with the bowl game. So West Virginia back for more. I'm a little more down on them this year because I think their schedule's tougher. I think they play Kansas at Pitt is no gimme. A rivalry, backyard brawl, fun game. They play Kansas at Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State at Arizona, and UCF. That is a gauntlet. Murderer's row.
Is miserable.
That is a murderer's row schedule, and I just don't know. Like last year, they had a weaker schedule, and they all credit to them. They took advantage of it. But this year, it's kind of the opposite, and I would expect some regression.
Yeah, they've got 6 of the projected top 7 in the conference, and only 1 of the bottom 4. And so even if they may be a better team, the record's probably going to come back. I do like Neil Brown. I thought he was a good coach. I didn't like the fact that he was on the hot seat, but that's what happens when you don't win games. I'm glad he's there. I think they're probably coming back to a 7-5, 6-6 kind of season.
Okay, that's kind of where I'm at as well. TCU.
I know your favorite school.
Yeah, freaking frauds, horned frauds. But
I mean, this team. I mean, obviously they won the national championship 2 years ago. Disaster last year. What can we expect from this team?
Well, we can expect more of the same. I think TCU, as much as I'm a little biased on them, I think TCU is more similar to Baylor in a lot of ways, in the fact that in the coach's first year, or I guess at the coach's early tenure, they rose to the top with the previous coach's players, really took advantage of it. They made the playoff. Baylor won the title. They both won the Sugar Bowl. And then the next year they came crashing down, and it hasn't looked good since. And I think TCU will continue that pattern. I don't see a ton of reasons for optimism. I mean, they do have a 75% returning production on offense, but their offense wasn't very good. So what does that really mean? If you return everybody, but they weren't that great, is that an improvement? You'd think, but who knows? They don't have the easiest of schedules. UCF at SMU, which we both think is going to be a spicy game. At Kansas is probably better. At Utah, Texas Tech, at Baylor rivalry, Oklahoma State, Arizona. That's not an easy schedule.
Yeah.
And I don't think TCU. I don't think they can run the gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a pretty good job recruiting in the Big 12. So I do think the roster talent's better. The talent level has improved, and I think that's why they're going to be competitive in a lot of games. I'm not a big fan of Chandler Morris. I guess Hoover is Hoover going to be starting, or who's the quarterback?
I'm not sure.
I guess it's going to be Hoover.
I think it's Hoover.
Okay. Oh no, Morris transferred out. He went to North Texas. I'm sorry. So I guess it's Hoover.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Kendall Briles as the coordinators.
I think he's a good coordinator, but
yeah. So I think the schedule will be difficult. I don't expect, again, probably much. I mean, to me, the ceiling is 8-4, but that's not going to get you to the conference championship game. I think you're probably looking at 8-4, 7-5 would be my guess based on that schedule.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. It's kind of a question. What does their defensive front seven look like? Because they brought in a lot of transfers. Do those transfers mesh? If so, their defense could be pretty good. If not, they could have some real holes up front, and there's a lot of power running teams in this conference that could take advantage of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, where do you want to go next?
We've got 2 more teams I want to talk about in the middle. Let's talk about Texas Tech.
Okay. What are you thinking about Texas Tech?
Well, this is a team I struggle with because I look at what they've done from a recruiting perspective, and I think they've done a pretty good job of recruiting since Joey McGuire got there.
Yeah.
I don't love, Tyler Schluff is now Schluff is over at Louisville, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to remember who's their quarterback now. I guess it's the freshman Jake Strong. I guess he's battling. I guess is he battling the transfer in from the Division II? I guess, but is Strong going to be I think I haven't followed whether Strong is going to get the job. I don't love this team. I don't know that I trust. I think Joey McGuire is a great recruiter, and I think defensive wise they're okay. I just don't know that I trust this team to really be competitive with the big boys.
Yeah, the X factor here would be running back Baron Morton. He was very good last year in the limited time he saw. He got injured and kind of struggled with injury sort of all season. But when he was healthy, he was electric. And if he could stay healthy all season, Texas Tech can definitely contend for some upsets and maybe elevate themselves into the middle of the pack. Not necessarily a conference title, but definitely a dangerous team, especially at home. It really revolves around Morton if he can stay healthy. On the defensive side, they were actually pretty decent last year.
They were passing game.
Yeah, pretty good. And they returned 61%, so they're replacing some guys. But I think with a good defense and if they can keep that running game going, they can be a team you got to look out for. Kind of like a lot of other teams in the center of this conference. Like they not contending for the title, but definitely could jump up and beat anyone in the league on a given day with a little bit of ball bounces going their way.
I mean, is it just me, or is he just a great recruiter and just one of these guys that maybe isn't a great game day coach?
Yes. Yeah, he is definitely the recruiter. He is the part of the West Texas Mafia, West Texas high school football mafia. That's like the reason why he's recruited top 30 classes at Texas Tech, which historically has been one of the worst teams in the Big 12 or Southwest Conference with recruiting. So he can keep that recruiting going. It's going to depend, I think, on essentially Morton and if coordinators can call good plays, because I don't think he's really making those calls in game.
Well, let's go to the team that everybody wants to watch on television.
Do you believe?
I believe it. So let me look back here to what their over-under is. Colorado's over-under is 5.5. So
it went up. It was at 5.
It was a little bit. Jake, do they get the over?
Well, there's a lot of pizzazz around the program, a lot of controversy, a lot of magic fairy dust, and I'm here to tell you that it's all fake. I'm a Scrooge. They're going under. Colorado is not legit. They are not here. I do not believe.
Well,
they have like 5 good players, and everyone else is group of 5 or worse. Like, it is. You can't bring in 60 transfers every year. There's not 60 good players in the transfer portal every year. I don't understand Deion's strategy at all. Like, he generates a lot of media, and he's got, like, the few good stars, but you can't. First of all, there are some positions you just can't get through the portal because they're late bloomers and they're late developers, like tight end and offensive line and some like defensive tackle. Like, some of the bigger players you have to recruit in high school and grow them in. And so their offensive line is questionable again. They lost their running back to the portal for lots of disagreements. They've been fights in practice. Whenever you hear about fights in practice, it's never a good sign. Like, there's fights in practice. There's players, saying, oh, the wide receivers getting red jerseys where you can't hit him in practice. Like, come on. It's a clown show in Colorado. And fine for Colorado for doing that because they're not a relevant program and, at least they're generating buzz. But it didn't translate into wins last year. It's not going to translate into wins this year. And after this year, I think Deion will be on the hot seat, even though he won't get fired. And it's not going to be a real hot seat because Colorado, they're bad with media coverage is better than bad with no media coverage. Interesting is better than boring. So they won't fire him. There'll be a lot of people that'll be like, man, where are those wins they expected? The whole, we're coming, we're not coming, we're here. They're still coming, and they're going to be coming for a long time because they're not going anywhere.
Well, you certainly have a strong opinion on him, and
yes.
Let me tell you something. You could not be more wrong.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man. He's bringing the bags. He's bringing Louis.
Oh.
They're coming to a new conference, and they're going to go over. Now,
no,
they're not going to win this conference. But I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah, of course not.
They're going to get some teams here. Shedeur Sanders is going to be electric this year.
He's good.
And with Travis Hunter, they're going to get to 6 wins. They're going to go bowling this year.
Really, 6 wins?
Yes. They're true class. I'm telling you. You could not be more wrong. They're going to roll out of here. Now, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think you're going to see a little uptick. You're going to see more than 4.5, than 5.5 wins. I'm confident in it. I think you're going to see another little step up for this program.
I don't know. I think Deion's going to be looking for other jobs after this year, other downtrodden programs that want to attack media attention. Like, he would be a great fit at, like, Mississippi State.
They just got it.
Where they're, well, I know, but it's, they're never going to, like, go about 500 every year and, like, generate a bunch of hype. Like, I like Deion as a player. I think he's a very interesting and entertaining personality, but I just don't understand his program building strategy. And I don't think it's conducive to a good culture to just allow fights to happen in practice. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. And I think after, like, 2 losses, they're going to collapse. And
the only thing I don't love is they did draw the hardest Big 12 schedule. I mean, I don't love that.
Yeah, their schedule's not easy either.
No, it's.
You want to go through their schedule real quick?
No, I've got. Yeah, I mean, it is. They got all the top 6 teams and only one in the bottom 4. So it doesn't help them. But I think they can get to 6 wins. I think I can find 6 wins because I'm telling you, they're going to upset one of the big boys.
All right. Let go through here a second. North Dakota State.
Win.
That's not an automatic win.
Win.
That is a tough MCS program.
This is not the same program that was winning those championships.
There are a lot of players on Colorado that should be playing for North Dakota State.
Win.
That is not an automatic win.
Right.
That is a tough out. At Nebraska.
Loss.
At Colorado State, they almost lost last year.
But
Jalen Bell's a good coach.
Almost. That's a win.
They could have lost last year. It's at Colorado State this year. If it was at Colorado State last year, they would have lost.
Win.
Toss up.
Win.
Baylor at home.
Win. Sorry, bud.
Maybe.
And you see the shirt I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At UCF, loss. Kansas State, loss. At Arizona, loss. Cincinnati, win. At Texas Tech,
win.
Coin flip.
Win.
Utah at home, loss. At Kansas, loss.
Win.
Oklahoma State, loss.
I've got you to 5.
Where's your 6 wins coming from? Where's your 6 wins coming from?
1, 2, 3, 4.
No,
5,
no.
I got 6 and 6.
I got 3, maybe 4 wins.
Yeah.
Like,
Flip this now. We're going to come back to this in December.
they'll be lucky to get to 5. You
All
know,
right.
when they lose their first 3 games.
They lose the first 3 games, I'm toast.
Yeah.
Toast.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say don't bet anything in the Big 12 except Colorado under.
Yeah.
The line is inflated by the amount of insane people who just watch Barstool Sports all day and then never actually know anything about college football. Okay. All right.
Can you parlay the Colorado under and Ohio's and the maybe the Ohio State perfect season? I think can you see the parlay?
Parlay Colorado under and Ohio State perfect season. Yeah, that would be
I'm gonna try that. So
the hype parlay. All right.
now we're done with the official. Here's all the people that matter in the Big 12 because the rest of the teams.
Hey,
I'm sorry, Jake. As painful as this is, every other team from here on out really is not going to be relevant this year.
okay.
Let's
Let me give you.
Let's talk about the Baylor Bears. Let's just get them.
Okay, let's talk about the great Baylor Bears.
Yeah.
All right. So they got a new offensive coordinator. He's got a great first name, Jake Spavital. They've got a new quarterback, DeQuan Finn. You know, MAC Player of the Year. He's a mobile quarterback in a spread offense. That's a good combo. Gotta like it. They return a lot of start. They played so many freshmen last year that have so much of experience this year. 82% returning production on defense, 70 plus on offense. Baylor is going to be at home. Baylor can definitely, I'd say, reach up and upset a team or two. They're not going to be competitive for the conference, obviously, and I don't think they're really in that second tier because of how bad they played last year. Dave Aranda is fighting for his job. He's taken back defensive play calling, which is key because say what you want about Dave Aranda as a head coach. Dave Aranda is a fantastic defensive coordinator. He was coach of that LSU defense that was fantastic. He was coach of those Wisconsin defenses that were fantastic. Him taking back play calling responsibility is him betting on himself, and I think Baylor's defense will be much improved this year. Combine that with an improved offense. Monterey Baldwin is one of the fastest players in the country. People don't know that about Monterey Baldwin, but he's, I think, the 6th fastest 40 time of any college player in the country. He is speedy. He's not big. He can't jump, but he's fast. He is a weapon on the outside at running back. Richard Reese earned Big 12. He was offensive freshman of the year 2 years ago, and with the new spread running game that they plan to do, you should probably see him featured a lot more. I really think Baylor can get to a bowl game this year, and I think it will save Dave Aranda's job. And with the way that he's been recruiting recently, Baylor's set to finish with a top 30 class in recruiting, and that combined with the bowl game will show upward momentum. And I think Baylor's going to have a decent year.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ifs and buts and all here, but I think you need to think about a couple of things. I do like Daquan Finn, and he was named starter yesterday or Monday night. So after we got off the air on the ACC Secret, so Daquan Finn, I think he gives them the best chance because we've seen Sawyer Robertson. Sawyer's got a nice backup, but not going to take them anywhere. I think Daquan Finn gives them the type of person they need in this new Bear Raid attack, with Jake Spavital.
I love that.
I love the Bear Raid name.
Yes, that's great.
And I think, Dave, you had to do something different. And I think bringing in a dual threat quarterback, someone that can run, I think brings back kind of the old memories of RG3 and what they can do and being extended.
Air raid?
Yeah.
And a running quarterback?
Yeah.
At Baylor?
Let's do something exciting. They were dead last and opponents adjusted on offense in the Power 5. They were just dreadful last year in passing defense. They've got to improve, but they played a lot of young kids last year, freshmen, and so on the defense. So if you can assume those people take the next step up and get better, then maybe you can get to 6-6. And I think there's some possibilities here. If they get to 6-6 with the recruiting momentum they do have, which you are correct, then I think maybe Aranda saves a job. And it seems like he seems like a great guy, great leader. But the recruiting is what had been suffering here. They had just kind of fallen off the map. And this is a talent game. And if you don't have talent, and especially if you don't have the right quarterback, you're not going to win games. And they just did it. Blake Shapen, couldn't really get the job done. They didn't really have the right quarterback, the right system. I'd like to see this work this year. I'm pulling for them. I'll watch. Got my shirt on. I'm going to watch a lot of their games.
Big 12
I'll probably watch every
champions.
game that I can watch. I think there's a path to 6-6. Obviously, they play they go to Utah, to Iowa
Yeah.
State.
Their schedule's not super easy.
No, they're not. But there's some games, road games that are winnable if they're playing well.
Yeah, like I said, I think Tarleton, that's a win. At Utah is a loss. Air Force is probably a win, although the triple option can be tricky. At Colorado is a game they could win if they run the ball against Colorado's defensive line. It could beat Colorado. BYU is a win. Iowa State is a tough game. That's probably a loss. I'd say at Texas Tech is winnable. It's a rivalry game. The Texas Shootout, also known as
Bonnet Bowl.
No, that's TCU.
That's TCU.
They read the Texas Tech rivalry is called the Texas Shootout, also known as the Butt Bowl, BUTT. Oklahoma State, that's a loss. TCU, coin flip, because I don't think TCU is very good. At West Virginia, Baylor never wins in Morgantown. They have never won in Morgantown. That streak will continue. That's a loss. At Houston is a win, and then Kansas. So they can get to a bowl game. It'll be tough, but I think it's definitely doable.
All right, Jake, we got about 5 minutes left. I don't know if we got a lot of time to break down Cincy, BYU, Arizona State, or Houston. I don't think, my opinion, I don't think any of them are going to be great. I think, clearly in my mind, Houston's the worst out of those this year. It's a rebuilding year.
By far.
Rebuilding year, new coach. I think, Dana Holgorsen, third losing seasons in 5 years, he had to go. I think Willie Fritz will get them back on the right path, just not this year. I like what Arizona State is doing. I think there's a path there, but
I like Kenny Dillingham.
I do like
Kenny Dillingham.
But recruiting was just dreadful, and
it was awful.
He's got to rebuild it. So I think they just need some momentum there, and give them a couple years. I think that could be a tough place to play for any Big 12 team. And Cincinnati, I don't know. I don't have a lot of great thoughts on them. They don't recruit very well. And I think that's probably their biggest challenge.
Scott Satterfield, he's not a horrible coach. He had a couple good years there at Louisville. I think BYU Kalani Sitake is a good coach. Pretty much every college football expert agrees on that. They've really upgraded their recruiting in the last 3 years or so. I think BYU has got probably 2 more years until they're competitive just to get that talent level up. I think same with Arizona State.
Is he on the hot seat?
Who?
Kalani Sitake.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think he is.
I mean, if he has another bad year, which seems likely, maybe. But everybody seems to like him, and he has put in the effort to upgrade the recruiting from the mid 60s to the 40s, which for BYU is a huge accomplishment considering their Mormon requirements. And so I don't know. We'll see. If he does get fired, he will be in demand. He will get snapped up by somebody. It'll be interesting.
Well, good. Well, I have that's kind of it for me. I have, again, after going through all of this, and I've looked at it multiple ways, I've got Kansas State as my conference champion.
Okay. I have got Utah as my conference champion with over Oklahoma State in the title game, but could be Kansas State or UCF as well. I think any of them could win the conference, but I think Utah is most likely and are the team to beat.
Oh, good. So, that covers the Big 12. So I guess next up for us is, what are we going to do on our next pod? We've got I know we got week 0 coming up here, but are we going to do we're going to do a playoff preview and maybe hit Notre Dame, a group of 5 real quick?
Yeah, in week 0. Yes.
So week 0 recap quickly.
Yeah, quick week 0 games. The only one really of note is Florida State, Georgia Tech. Big upset watch there. Georgia Tech Georgia Tech would be a great Big 12 team, great middle of the pack Big 12 team. They're tough, they're physical. They're not going to really win the conference title, but they're going to they're threatening some teams upset. Florida State is a team that's threatening in Ireland. We'll see how that game goes, but I would definitely take the under in that game. Week 1 game in a foreign country, 2 physical teams. Neither one has shown a fantastic and reliable passing attack. I would hit the under there.
Yeah. I think you'll probably ride the under, and I expect Florida State to come on the line.
Yeah.
Remember,
I would
I don't
guess
even
that, yeah.
know. I looked at the line the other day. Let's see. The FanDuel keeps stopping locking me out every 5 seconds. Come on, FanDuel. I mean, of course, that's a Virginia. So what?
Yeah.
But yeah, Florida State's a 10.5 point favorite. I expect them to cover that. And the over/under is 55.5 right now at FanDuel.
Yeah.
I would take the under. Florida State to cover, take the under. I think that's your lock of the week. I don't think we really have any other great matchups. I think SMU plays Nevada. They're 25.5 point favorites. Nothing else really significant in the first week.
Yeah. Yep.
So
all right.
So we'll cover that. We'll be back with that kind of podcast either Sunday or Monday night.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see one of those. So
all right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and button, and follow on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at RealHopster, on Instagram at The Hoppy Huddle for short clips. Yeah. Catch you all next time.
All right. Bye.